vibrations. And these vibrations you have the ability to access. So like Paul Selig can access the vibration of Melchizedek and allow that vibration to channel through, right? So there's a lot of ways that when we say incarnation, it doesn't mean like I was fucking Marcus Aurelius in a past life or something.
Although you would have made a very good Marcus Aurelius.
Thanks, Robert.
I could see you in that breastplate.
It's an unnecessary compliment, but I will accept. I will fucking accept. But nonetheless, like so when you think about this, just think about somebody who's tapping into, at the very least, the energy of what the vibrational signature and collected intelligence of this being that we call Hermes might be.
And that could very well be the case too. But there are certain signatures. And throughout Scripture, we see references to people getting keys, right? We've all heard about the keys of Peter, the keys of Melchizedek, right? The keys of Enoch. There's a book called The Keys of Enoch as well by J.J. Hertak that's worth reading if you're interested to learn more about this. And I remember when we first met via text, I think I asked you if you were into Hermeticism the very first time as well. And you hadn't yet read Kybalion. And then when we talked at the last time, you're like, I just read Kybalion. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was like, wow. And I feel like there is this frequency. Maybe it's a frequency connection. It might be an incarnation connection that ties several of these people throughout history together, right? Where we see these kind of keys of Solomon, another man of great wisdom who I know you've studied a lot about as well. So, and they all have sigils as well, which is kind of interesting. So there's kind of a different meaning.
I think I'm wearing David's sigil on my...
Yeah, you've got a Star of David, which also originates
necklace.
with, as well, with that turned into Seal of Solomon as well. So I think there's some depth to this. And this concept of, even as recently as someone like Saint Germain, right? You may have heard of Saint Germain.
The violet purple flame.
Exactly. So Saint Germain was this very interesting character from like the 18th century that everyone thought lived for possibly hundreds of years even. He was very charismatic. He could hold a conversation, but he never ate at dinner. He was always...
Maybe that's why he looked so old.
And he was... well, he never aged, though. That's the thing. He didn't age, and that's what people claim about him. And he was, you'll find him throughout history, like involved in things like the American Revolution. He's like showing up in different places. It's like, how could he have been at all these different places?
It's like the movie Highlander.
Exactly. He's like the movie Highlander. And this guy's really interesting because he speaks many languages, right? He's extremely charismatic. And people thought he must be a charlatan because he couldn't possibly have done all the things that he seems to have known and done in his lifetime.
Yeah.
Because he had to have lived many lifetimes. So there's all kinds of huge lore around this guy. A lot of people believe that, again, tapping into that same frequency or possibly incarnation of Thoth, of Hermes.
Also, that traces potentially all the way to Saint Germain is what you're saying. It could be, so it could go Enoch, it could go, Thoth, it could go Hermes, Melchizedek,
Solomon,
Hermes, all of these different characters in a different iteration, articulation. And one of the teachings of Solomon and the teachings of like the deep mystical Kabbalah and Torah is that we all have the potential to actually merge our own will and consciousness with divine will. But it's not that we become effaced. It's not that we lose everything that makes us unique. We actually subsume, like the divine moves through us as us, integrated as us. And so what we see through our lens and our perspective and our portal actually supersedes any text that had gone before because it's the right information for this time in this context. As we all know, if you give advice out of context, it could be pretty fucking useless. Sometimes it's universal. Sometimes it's of the wrong time. And so this idea that you can always rewrite the Torah, rewrite the scripture, if you're able to step into your own highest divine consciousness as you, not just the divine somewhere neutral, but the divine as you, then you actually can deliver a message, which is why all of these messages, even if it is the same being or the same frequency, could seem quite different because it was specifically filtered through the lens of that person at that time in that specific way. But the information, of course, is going to be different because it's going to be serving and meeting the need of exactly the people and the place that he was occupying.
I fully agree. And, it kind of